How's it going, everybody? It's Riley's Redzone here, back with another weekly NFL game picks video. And in today's video, I have the camera back. It's been a few weeks since I did a video with the camera and commentary. So I will be discussing every Week 10 NFL game, predicting who will win. And since it is my first longer video in a few weeks, I will also kind of recap the past few weeks when I talk about the teams to really give an exact idea of how I think they've been doing. Last week was a rough one for everybody. I ended up, if you just count the games from the video, it was 7-6. If you count the Thursday night, I went 8-6. It started rough for everybody. It was good that I ended up in the positives because there were tons of upsets last week that nobody expected whatsoever. That was whether it was the Jaguars over the Bills, the Giants over the Raiders, the absolute shutout, the just complete domination of the Broncos over the Cowboys. Those were all some extreme upsets that many people didn't expect to happen. And so I was pleased to come out 8-6 total on that week. Now, this week we didn't start great. I picked the Ravens over the Dolphins for the Thursday night game, and that was incorrect. You can follow my Twitter at Riley Redzone to get exclusive Thursday night picks. I put those picks out on my Twitter every Thursday night, so you can get those picks there. But for this week, I should also say for the season, we're 97-46 total on the record. So we're, doing pretty well, I would say, overall in the, percentage getting correct. But last week was our lowest week by far so far. But now I'm going to talk about every game of this week, predict who will win the game. I'll name kind of who's supposed to win, and then I'll pick some upsets, so stay tuned for those, and I'll kind of talk about how the teams are doing. So, starting with the Falcons and the Cowboys. Cowboys, as I mentioned, just couldn't get anything done last week. The Falcons are on fire right now, but I think the Cowboys bounce back in this one. They're favored by 8. I don't know. I don't think they win by that much, but the Falcons, I will say, have really started to build some momentum. I was not a huge fan of the Falcons' season outlook prior to the season. If you go back and watch my preview episodes, they've definitely made some good, they've played some really good games the past few weeks, especially if you look at, Calvin Ridley not playing for them right now. They are really actually outperforming themselves, I would say. To get a win over the Saints last week was huge. So I do think the Cowboys win this game, although the Falcons have been really good recently. I think this comes down to a 5-point game, maybe a field goal. I think this actually ends up very, very close. Last time these two played, I believe it was that crazy game with the onside kick and everything. Well, actually, I'm thinking when the Cowboys came back. I think something like that could happen again this week. So I'm going to take the Cowboys there, even though I don't think they win by 8. The Titans and the Saints. The Saints lost to the Falcons last week. That was a little shocker to me. So they pulled off the win against Tom Brady and the Bucs with the backup quarterback for most of it. I'm so disappointed for Jameis. I really thought he was doing well this season. I was excited to see what he was maybe going to build off of to end the year, but we just didn't get the opportunity to see that. And to make matters worse this week, Alvin Kamara is out for the game. So and Michael Thomas is out for the year. This team is just banged up. And the Titans, coming off a hot win against the Rams, that's where you could maybe see the opposite happen here. They're only favored by 3, and they've obviously had to fight through some injuries as well. With Derrick Henry getting hurt, another just disappointing. He could have been on pace to maybe get the record for rushing yards, but that's not going to happen. So the Titans, I think, are technically the number 1 seed in the AFC right now, which I never thought I would be saying this season. But they are definitely making it work with the running backs they have. And I'm going to take them here. They're favored by 3. I think they win by more than that. If the Saints had Kamara, I think this actually comes down to the wire. But I think without him, Titans win pretty huge here, I'm thinking. The Jags and the Colts. Jags pull off an upset last week. I don't think they do it this week, though. The Colts, I think, will be, coming off of that nice win against the Jets. I think they'll continue that momentum and pull off another big win this week. Carson Wentz hasn't been unbelievable this season, but he'll get the job done this week, is what I think at this one. So that's a pretty simple one. Just the Jags have started to pull some random wins. You know, they have like two, but really, I think this is a Colts win for sure. Browns Patriots is a very interesting one. I picked the Browns last week to beat the Bengals, and they did. That was one of my bigger upset picks of the week. And this week, I'm getting similar vibes here. The Patriots, they've come off a few kind of, I would say, pretty impressive performances, beating the Panthers last week, and then beating the Chargers the week before. That was a huge upset. That was a coin flip game for me, and I landed on the wrong one there. I have picked the Browns when they're favored to lose many times this year. I feel like at least a few times. Sorry for the noise if you heard that outside, but this is another example. The Browns are without Nick Chubb. They have Dearness Johnson, who performed well in that one game. I like the Browns offense right now. Honestly, they're doing better without Odell. I'm going with the Browns here. They're favored to lose by 2.5, but I'm going to take the Browns in this game. That's one of my bigger upset picks of this week. I'm going with that. I think that the Browns will beat the Patriots this week. Bills, Jets. Bills coming off a loss. And the Jets also coming off a loss. But the Bills, lost a close one. I don't know how they didn't beat the Jags, but the Jets just went through an absolute beatdown. I know they have a lot of momentum right now with Mike White at quarterback. I don't know what was happening with Zach Wilson. He's not looking like the guy I watched at BYU. Going back to that film breakdown, I don't know what's going on with him, but Mike White is playing really well for this team. The team seems to be embracing him. But the Bills still, I think they win big here. They're coming off a bounce-back week. The same thing that happened after week 1 when they lost to the Steelers. So I'm going to go with the Bills in that one. Lions still yet to get a win, and I don't think that happens this week against the Steelers. Still winless, I think, after this week. The Steelers are pulling out wins. They beat the Bears, even with some controversial ref calls. Those are some crazy, disappointing calls. But the Steelers, I think, win this game. I like Dan Campbell as a coach, and he's obviously I feel like I forget where I heard this, but I completely agree with what somebody said, where it was like, yes, they're losing every game, but if he didn't have at least some support from the team, they'd be losing every game by I guess last week they lost by a lot. But before that, it was, they're losing. They lost on a world record, NFL record game-winning kick. I mean, you can't get any closer than that. That situation's never happened before. They've lost they've maybe almost come back a few times. I mean, it's just been plenty of opportunities, and they haven't been able to do it. But they've still kept fighting, but I don't think that's the case this week. I think the Steelers win this one. Bucks, football team. I'm taking the Bucks here, favored by almost 10. Washington, I think, just has been a little lackluster so far this season. And so the Bucks, after coming off a bye, I think they bounce back. I think that they are going to bounce back with Brady here. Losing to the Saints and then coming off a bye. I like those odds. I'm going to take Brady and the Bucks in this situation, favored by almost 10. Panthers and the Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by over 10. I took them in an upset last week, even without. I took that upset thinking Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins were going to play, because I'm always normally, if I upload on a Sunday morning, I make my picks Saturday night, and it looked to me like I thought maybe they were going to play, and then they both were ruled out. They're both back this week. So it's just furthermore, the Panthers, I like them bringing Cam Newton back, but they're not going to start him this week. I like P.J. Walker a lot as well. But I think the Cardinals take a win here if they were able to beat the Niners with Colt McCoy and James Conner. They can surely beat the Panthers with Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and the same running backs. I'm going to take the Cardinals in that matchup. Now, perhaps, in my opinion, the hardest game to predict this whole week is the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers. And the Vikings seem to be one of the best teams I've ever seen. this is not a good thing, but they're the best at playing to the level of their competition. They bring it to overtime last week. They should not have lost that game. I mean, you put all the effort. You get an incredible interception from Anthony Barr. Still couldn't hold it out. The offense is so predictable right now. You can literally tell what they're going to do before the drive starts. Pretty much they're going to run the ball, pass the ball short, and then incomplete pass on third down. It is so dry on offense. But they always seem to, they lose all their games by incredibly close margins. And I just think that at some point, I think Zimmer is done if they lose another close one. Because it's clear they just don't know how to finish games. I mean, you keep the Lions around for a long, long time, and that was unnecessarily long. And this is a tough game because I think the Chargers, are on and off. I think Herbert is a very, very solid quarterback, and the safe choice here would be to go with the Chargers. And they're favored by 3, so incredibly close. But I'm thinking about switching my pick right here. I have to tell myself this has to be the last time I do this because it was just like early in the season. I almost thought about picking the Lions a few times. I picked them once, and I was wrong. And it comes down to the risk of picking the Chargers here is very low. But because, for example, I would get the feeling almost every week that the Lions could finally win it, and they wouldn't. And so if they keep losing and failing to succeed, if I keep picking them, that's just more losses coming in. Compared to if I take the Chargers once and then, I learn. I'm declaring a truth here, hopefully. This whole week I've been thinking Chargers, safe pick. But the Vikings, coming off a loss, I'm saying this is the deciding game for Mike Zimmer's future. I'm taking the Vikings here. If they win, he's going to keep his job. If they lose, it is time. In my opinion, that it seals it pretty much. If they lose, close. Because honestly, I feel like a loss in a very close game is almost more disappointing at this point because it just proves the team can't finish. So after all that discussion, I'm going with the Vikings, changing my pick in a bit of a shocker here. So I'm going to take the Vikings here to put another upset on the board, and I'm going to continue that with the Eagles over the Broncos. Broncos, you may be thinking, what? They just had the best week of any team last week over the Cowboys. I know Jalen Hurts has been not great when he actually plays, but I like the upside with him still. So I'm going with the Eagles here. I love the Devontae Smith connection. I really think that the Eagles have an opportunity here. They absolutely destroyed the Lions, when they played. I keep merging last week and the week before. But I think that the Broncos, and I know this happened before too, I've picked against them and their luck runs out, and their luck keeps going. But I basically think the luck has to run out at some point. And I think the Eagles take a win here. They're favored to lose by 2.5. I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they put up a good offensive performance, and that's why I'm going to take them over the Broncos. And to keep the upsets rolling in here, the game that's on the thumbnail, I am taking the Seattle Seahawks over the Green Bay Packers. In my boldest pick of the week, Russell's back. The Seahawks team, I think, will be successful with him back. With DK and Tyler Lockett, I think this team has some motivation. And the Packers, see, there's two. It's also like the Packers didn't have their quarterback last week. They'll have him back this week. So they might bounce back really, really well. But I'm going with the Seahawks here. Even though it's a bit of a close one, I don't know who to really choose. I think this comes down to the wire. I'm thinking a field goal. Spread is 3.5, so I think it's going to come down to a field goal. And I'm honestly thinking it's either going to be a Jason Myers make or a Mason Crosby miss here. Is my prediction in this game. So I think an incredibly close one. I think just the Seahawks are going to ride with Russell. I mean, let's just let Russ cook. Chris Carson's still out. I mean, Alex Collins can't do much in the passing game, so just let it fly is what I'm saying. I think the Seahawks win this week. That's my bold prediction. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs, Raiders. Raiders, I thought they finally... I picked them over the Giants last week. Derek Carr is absolutely doing phenomenal this year, especially with everything he's had to go through this season as a quarterback. And I was, it was sad they didn't win last week. Honestly, I feel like he is going through a lot, and he's been playing phenomenally. So he will keep this team in the game. The Chiefs come off a win against the Packers, riding more momentum. I'm honestly almost thinking about flipping this pick too, but I don't think I can get too many upsets. Upsets happen, but I will say this. I'm going to take the Chiefs here. But mark my words, this has upset written all over it. I think that, sometimes interim head coaches can come in and give a team momentum. And sometimes I think there'll be a game like this that this could happen. So I'm going to take the Chiefs, but watch out for that one. And to close out the week, the Rams and the Niners. Can't believe the Rams lost last week to the Titans. That was absolutely shocking to me. And they bring in Odell Beckham Jr. Today I found out Robert Woods tore his ACL, so they don't have him. So it's kind of lucky that they brought Odell in because now, they at least have a replacement for Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp is playing like the best receiver in the NFL right now. Matthew Stafford is playing like the MVP, except for last week, really. So I'm going to go with the Rams. I mean, the Niners couldn't even beat the Cardinals team with Colt McCoy, without Kyler Murray. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this matchup. So that's going to conclude this week's picks. Let me know. I'm putting this out a day early, just see if there's any response. If you guys like this, I can try to do this again in the future. And otherwise, if you do like the short videos as well, let me know and I'll continue with that format. I just like mixing it up. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.